Ever wondered what really makes a surfboard accelerate? It's not immediately obvious where that energy comes from. And in this video, we break down the 3 hidden sources of speed that every surfer must understand. Even though a surfboard has no engine, no sails, and no visible form of propulsion, it can still travel faster than the wave upon which it is riding, generating excess speed and energy that can be used to perform maneuvers. If we're thinking about trying to improve our surfing and perform better maneuvers, it's probably a good idea that we have a theoretical understanding of where this energy is coming from, so that we can utilize it more effectively. There are in fact 3 different sources of energy that we can tap into as a surfer riding a wave. Which of these can you name already? The first source of energy that comes to most people's mind is gravity. If we were to shape a wave out of concrete and stand at the top of it with a skateboard, it's fairly intuitive that we could easily travel down the front of that slope. And the bigger and steeper that slope would be, the faster we would go. The next source of energy that most of us have interacted with is the whitewater. When an unbroken wave hits you, it doesn't really have an impact. You rise up the front of the wave, over the top, and down the back of the wave, into flat water again. A whitewater wave, however, will slam into you and drive you towards the beach. As surfers, we can tap into this momentum and use it to push the board forwards. Our last source of energy is probably the least understood by most surfers, and it's the use of the surfboard as a hydrodynamic foil to redirect the flow of water underneath it, creating forward momentum. We use the term rail engagement, since this energy is most readily accessed by engaging the rail of the surfboard into the face of an unbroken wave. Let's have a look at these 3 energy sources in more detail to understand how they work and how to use them most effectively. Let's start with gravity. When we think about gravity as an energy source, what we're technically describing is gravitational potential energy. This is created when an object is lifted away from the surface of the Earth. The heavier the object and the higher it's lifted, the more energy is stored within that system. A bigger surfer at the top of a bigger wave has more gravitational potential energy. However, this is just an energy store, like a battery. It doesn't directly drive us forwards. To create forward motion, we convert gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy by allowing gravity to pull us back towards the Earth's surface. The steeper the wave is, and the straighter towards the beach that we point, the more efficient this conversion is. However, this conversion isn't 100% efficient, as there is some loss to friction, and no wave face is ever completely vertical. While gravity is one of the more obvious sources of energy, and possibly one of the easiest to access, it also has some limitations. Firstly, the size and steepness of the wave is directly proportional to how much energy will be available for us to extract. So small, soft waves, for example, will not provide much energy for us to use. It's also most effectively used when traveling straight towards the beach. When in surfing, we actually spend a lot of time in a traverse across the wave. Dropping down the wave at an angle does provide some speed, but it's a less efficient way to convert gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy. Although sometimes it is worth trading that efficiency for some down-the-line momentum. All of this means is that gravitational potential energy is something of a one-hit wonder. While gravity provides an initial burst of speed, it does have limitations, and once we reach the bottom of the wave, we might need another energy source to keep us going. This is where whitewater might come in. The whitewater is often the first energy source that surfers encounter when they are learning how to ride a wave. As we said earlier, an unbroken wave doesn't have much physical impact when it hits you, and this is because an unbroken wave doesn't really move water molecules towards the beach. It lifts them up and puts them back down again in a gentle circular motion. But when the wave breaks, water molecules become trapped in a rebounding, recirculating cycle as the wave transports them to the beach. This gives the wave physical momentum, i.e. mass with velocity. You experience this when the wave hits you, and we can use this force to propel the board forwards by allowing the whitewater to impact the surfboard, transferring the kinetic energy from one object to another. Entry-level surfers often use the whitewater by allowing it to hit the tail of the surfboard. This impact drives the board forward, maintaining motion for as long as the whitewater lasts. Advanced surfers surfing on unbroken waves can also use the whitewater as an energy source, by allowing the whitewater to impact the bottom of their surfboard at critical points during maneuvers like re-entries and cutbacks. The power of the whitewater is directly proportional to the volume of water contained within it, and the surface area of the board that gets hit. So bigger whitewater sections will have more power and more energy available for us to use, while smaller, weaker waves may lack the power to overcome the surfboard's existing inertia. The impact of the whitewater on the surfboard can also be quite a violent event, especially if there is a large difference between the speed and direction of the wave and the surfboard. For example, the difference in momentum between a stationary surfer and a powerful wave will be quite high, so their impact will be hard, possibly causing the surfer to lose control. This can be mitigated by paddling fast towards the beach, thus minimizing the difference in velocity between the surfer and the wave. An advanced surfer performing a re-entry on a wave as it pitches and breaks will feel a very aggressive impact on the bottom of the surfboard. And if their weight distribution is not correct, this could easily cause them to lose balance and fall. Like gravity, the whitewater is most effective at pushing us straight towards the beach, since that's the direction it's traveling. We can use the whitewater to propel us across the wave, but the energy transfer from the wave into the board is not as efficient and won't result in quite such a high top speed. So again, we want to be thoughtful about how and when we tap into this as an energy source. While gravity and whitewater provide momentum in mostly one direction, the next topic unlocks the ability to harness speed dynamically across the wave. Probably the most important source of energy is rail engagement, or the process of using the surfboard as a hydrodynamic foil to redirect water flow and create lift and forwards thrust. This is a process most surfers haven't spent much time thinking about, but it's the primary driving force when a surfboard is traveling across a wave in trim, and can often make up for the shortcomings of gravity and whitewater. As we mentioned before, an unbroken wave traveling towards the beach doesn't move the water molecules very much. If we were out swimming and an unbroken wave rolled through us, it's unlikely we would be pushed forwards towards the beach. Instead, we would be lifted up the front of the wave and then drop back down the back of the wave, and the water surrounding us would feel mostly stationary. Now imagine instead you're a surfer on the same wave, passing the stationary swimmer by. If the surfer would have put their hand in the water, to them the water would appear to be flowing up the wave face towards them, and then over the back of the wave. It would run through the fingers of the surfer like a flowing river. This means that from the perspective of the wave, or the surfer traveling with the wave, there is a constant flow of water molecules running up the wave face and out the back. By engaging the rail of the surfboard into this wave face, we interrupt and split this apparent flow of water. Some of the water will continue up the wave face, wrapping around the curved edge of the board. This is actually what provides most of the traction a surfboard has on the wave face, stopping you from sliding down to the bottom of the wave. The rest of the water will be forced to turn and run along the bottom of the surfboard. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. As this water traveling up the wave face is turned and sent out the tail of the board, it creates equal and proportional lift and forwards thrust. This lift component allows you to stand on the top of your surfboard and support your weight, whilst the forwards thrust propels the surfboard across the wave face. This means that the more water we can redirect towards the tail of the surfboard, the more speed we will produce. Surfboards with longer rails will interrupt a greater volume of water flowing up the wave face, resulting in a higher top speed. Surfboards with concave or channeled bottoms will also direct more water towards the tail, resulting in higher top speeds. Surfboards placed closer to 90 degrees to the flow of water will be more effective at redirecting water towards the tail, as opposed to round the rail, and also will result in a higher top speed. This means that when trimming across the wave, a surfboard is more effective higher up on the wave face, as the board will naturally sit at 90 degrees to the flow of water. Surfing close to the peak of the wave where the wave face is steeper also helps us to achieve an angle closer to 90, and so is more effective at generating speed. Low down on the wave, where the angle between our surfboard and the wave face is softer, it's likely that more water will escape around the rail rather than be redirected backwards, resulting in a reduced top speed. To increase our speed lower down on the wave, the board needs to be rolled over further onto its rail to increase the angle between the surfboard and the flow of water. This is how maneuvers like the bottom turn, when performed correctly, can result in a higher exit speed than entry speed. It's also true for carving turns performed on the wave face. By leaning the board further over, using correct application of rail engagement, speed can be generated even during a direction change. The main challenge when accessing this energy source is that it requires relatively precise control of both the roll and pitch angles of the surfboard. And since the shape of the wave is constantly changing, these pitch and roll angles also need to be constantly adjusted. The final component to consider when accessing this energy source is that our weight is the force that is opposing the pressure of water underneath the surfboard. The heavier we are, and the more we can apply pressure to our inside rail, the more water we will be able to redirect towards the tail of the surfboard, and the more speed we'll be able to generate. We can amplify this effect by compressing and extending our body to temporarily add additional weight to the board at critical moments. The final thing to realize is that each energy source on its own may be sufficient to allow a surfer to stand on the board and travel towards the beach. However, in order to generate excess speed and to think about performing maneuvers, we are almost always going to need to combine multiple energy sources together. And the more efficiently we do this, the easier it's going to be to perform multiple maneuvers on a single wave. This is where the name the Triangle of Speed comes from. Mastering the Triangle of Speed isn't just about theory though, and initially our ability to assess our location on the wave relative to the wave's height and braking section is the first step to unlocking all three sources. So next time you're out surfing, have a go at identifying what your sources are at any particular moment on the wave, or better yet, seek out each source individually by surfing high on the wave, leaning over onto the rail, and using the whitewater as a target location to surf to. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.